Hello and welcome to another one-on-one program. Our guest is General Secretary of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados. He's a current columnist, former educator, and a man on a mission. Mr. Peiza, welcome to One-on-One.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. The first question that I want to ask for many of the young people watching and some of the older folks as well, exactly what is C2SAB?
That question is, I believe, the easiest question of them all. The Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados is virtually the umbrella body of trade unions in Barbados. By that, it is the Trade Union National Center, in which all trade unions and staff associations on the island are free to associate or by virtue of having membership of the organization. The idea here is to create a bond, a platform of solidarity and unity, and where the body speaks on behalf of the movement, the entire movement, labor movement, on issues of national significance and to represent issues where there is a need to give support to member organizations in any area of education, matters that are need to be discussed at a higher level, or where they need guidance and direction. But the important thing to understand that the Congress as an umbrella body is able to speak to national policies. In other words, we are part then of the social partnership, that mechanism which was built out in Barbados after the 1990s and the whole question of the problems of the day. And that body, which includes the government of the day and the private sector association along with labor, are able to sit down and to address those issues of significance to the development of Barbados. So we see ourselves as part of the governance, so that we do not address, I want to say, individual issues where people want specific grievances handled and stuff like that, but we address more or less macro issues. But while I'm saying that, at the same time, if there is a dispute that has some universality about it, in other words, that it impacts on labor across the system, is at that point that the labor movement sits together with all its constituents and try to devise strategies or to look objectively as to how to address these matters in the interest of the working force and society. Because one must understand that the Congress of Trade Unions is a civil society organization. So we represent the masses, but we do have a specific mandate of trying to ensure that the rights, the fundamental rights and of workers, the fundamental human rights of people, and the freedoms that we have embodied in our Constitution, that we have a stake in ensuring and protecting the interests and the welfare of workers and the people of Barbados.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you've set that preface for the start of the interview. But I want to ask, in 2024 Barbados, why would an organization like C2SAB still be relevant, especially for young employees, young people entering the workforce?
It is about representing the interests of workers and the people of Barbados. So it will always have a place in the Barbadian development, because we are looking to see how we can advance our country, but we also have to ensure that people who are at the center, that their rights, their entitlements, their freedoms, whatever those things that are embodied, to get sure that people are part and parcel of the process, that those persons have a voice. Now, to put it in a very simple way, trade unions have always been the agents of lobbying for change. They are also influencers. In other words, we have to ensure that the parliamentarians, when they go in parliament, don't make laws that are draconian or that are against the best interests of the working class people of Barbados. But we also want to ensure that we are part of the decision making by being able to, as I say, influence the changes that will come about in our society. So we are protecting the young, the old, those who are exiting the workforce, but we always have a responsibility, first and foremost, to ensuring that the people of Barbados, the workers of Barbados, again, I want to repeat myself, that their interest and well-being is at the forefront of what we do.
Since becoming General Secretary of C2SAB from 2002, what has been the glue that kept you consistent with the leadership of the organization?
Well, one thing one would want to suggest is the confidence that has been reposed in you. I don't like to blow up these things, but I came into office at the time when Brother Patrick Frost, one of the most honorable Patrick Frost, demitted the office as General Secretary. And I always recalled the occasion on which the election was being held to fill the post of General Secretary. At that time, I was the Assistant General Secretary, and Sister Onni Whitaker had taken up the post as General Secretary after Brother Frost demitted office. And when the election was summoned, and on the day of election, I seriously did not have any intention of being the General Secretary. And I recall raising, when I was nominated, I raised my hand to decline the nomination, and I felt a hard thump in my side, inflicted by Brother Hartley Reid, and said, "Take your hand down." And, and from that day, I have not been challenged by anybody for the post of General Secretary, because in their wisdom, I would have to conclude, I have been doing the type of job that was worthy of their continual support. And I'm very grateful that I have been able to demonstrate to the members that I am befitting of their confidence in terms of the level of leadership and management I've given to the organization over the years.
What is general interest like of unions in terms of membership where C2SAB is concerned?
Well, at this stage, C2SAB has 9 member organizations. And as you know, there's not a whole lot more on the fringes. I mean, we have the Association of Public Primary School Principals. They were associated with the Congress. Also, the Barbados Association of Principal Public Secondary Schools, they were involved. The Barbados Secretaries Union, and of course the Barbados Workers Union. Those 4 were former members of the Congress, but over time they have removed themselves for whatever reasons that they may wish to share. I cannot speak for them, but the market in terms of the number of unions left, outside the Unity Trade Union, which has never shown an interest in the Congress. We don't have many others, but there are small groupings, like WIGAT, that's the University Teachers Union, and we have probably the Barbados, the Journalists Association, the BAJ, I think that's the correct name for it, and those other smaller groupings, the Fisher Folk, we will really encourage them all to join as part of this organization, because don't forget, it's the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados. But the important thing is to understand what the Congress is all about. And if we are all speaking about solidarity, we're speaking about unity, and we're talking about labor speaking with one voice, then I think it's important that those who are out of the movement of the group at the moment, so to speak, the grouping, or who are those who are on the fringes, should consider either those who want to return, be a part of, and those who have not yet joined to do so, because we need to have that bond so we can ably and readily represent the cause of labor in a very, very solid way as a core group of organizations under the head of the umbrella of the Congress of Trade Unions.
For those who may be concerned about political allegiance of C2SAB or any of the other unions, what would you say to those who may have those concerns?
An interesting question. I have not seen in my time, from the time the Congress was established to now, that it has any political or partisan interests. It is difficult for that to happen in the Congress because then it would not be suggesting to the public that it is true to its own cause, because we're not here to be partisan. A trade union, and I speak generally speaking, cannot divorce itself from politics, because politics, the decisions of politicians are made by Parliament, are things that we have to address and input into in some instances. So you can't divorce yourself from that. But anytime that the unions determine that they want to align themselves with a political organization, then that is a recipe for disaster. It is practiced in some other parts of the world, yes, where the unions are members or associate directly with the trade unions. And our history tells us that we are back. If you go back to the Bustamante Trade Union, you go back to the Progressive League in Barbados, we all were influenced into the political arena by the politicians who needed the assistance of labor at the time of the agitation in the 1930s and so forth, to come together to support them in the changes to reform the region and to empower and enfranchise people, because that was good for the time. Even as we speak, politicians might want to get support of labor unions directly, but that has to be taken with a pinch of salt, because who is the piper, they say, calls the tune. And if you surrender the dignity of the labor movement, you compromise the status of the labor movement by joining with a political party, that is going to be divisive and can spell disaster for the life of an organization.
From since 2002 until now, 2024, obviously you would have seen various governments come to power and other administrations fall. For you, being the General Secretary of C2SAB, how have you managed to remain objective throughout the years in representing these different unions?
I can only speak for me, but as far as I am aware, I have never had or heard the discussion which was brought to the table about associating or having any comfort for a political party. What this Congress has done in the past, where the political parties, individually, you might say, may have approached the Congress to ask about our views on issues leading up to their drafting of their manifesto or whatever. Obviously, Labour will speak to what it matters of interest it has, but we have never joined hands to hands and saying, okay, we're with you, and we will see how we can build a local relationship in that way. So our view is that political parties will come and go in terms of the political governance of the country, but Labour responsibility is to have a voice to ensure that whoever takes the realm of government understands that we are not for sale. We are not here to represent and accommodate the interests of the political elite, but we're here to represent and to voice very strongly and articulate on behalf of the working class people of Barbados.
For those young people who are new to the workforce, what would you say to them in terms of joining some of these unions that you represent? Speak to the relevance of C2SAB, especially where the youth are concerned.
I think what has happened, and I must be honest with myself, in this saying that the unions would have dropped the ball. And I'm going to ask you a question in an indirect way, because unions principally, one of the first principles is to organize labor, and that is to go there and to get people into the movement. But where we have a difficulty, if we're not educating the workforce, then we have a problem, because knowledge is power. And our mobilization must come through education. We must sell the union. We must sell its successes. We must let people know what it can do for you, and to give people a sense of how they can grow and develop being part of a union. It's just not only about representation in a grievance matter. Unions have a wider remit than that. And as you know, over the years, we've had the credit union movement, which was a birth out of the trade union movement. And since then, the movement has been diverse in itself in many ways. We're offering different opportunities. There are opportunities where people can get services through insurance and coverage and stuff like that. And these are things that we have to sell to say this organization is just more than what it appears. And I would hope that if we are able to get young people to understand by way of how we more or less communicate to them, outreach to them, and to give them a sense of understanding of the importance of being members of a union, then I think that we will see a difference in their response and maybe just their thinking. But I think the biggest problem that we have faced for young people is what the young people's perception about what trade unions do and how responsible they are.
In 2014, you've had the split with one of the largest trade unions in Barbados, the Barbados Workers Union, from the leadership of Saroy at the time. How are you looking to re-engage one of the largest trade unions in Barbados in terms of representation from C2SAB?
Well, I would say that the departure of the Barbados Workers Union, in my view, was a very dark day in the history of the Labour movement and in the Congress of Trade Unions. And you have to look at it from the perspective that the Barbados Workers Union was a founding member and a guiding light in the formation of the coalition of trade unions and then the establishment of the Congress in 1995. And if only we knew why they left, because a reason was never given in writing. There is much speculation as to why they have left, but that to me is concerning, because we want to ensure if we are going to be preaching, because the whole idea of the collectivity of the movement was championed by the leader at the time. And here we are, 25 years onward, we are still here going. Unfortunately, for the Barbados Workers Union, but the appeal, the overtures, every effort has been made. And unfortunately, a lot of the retort that we've heard from the leadership of the Barbados Workers Union, which I'm not saying that anything that has not been said publicly, doesn't give us any sense that there is any intention to return to the umbrella in any recent time, or anytime soon, I should say. And I would hope that could be given a rethink, because we need to have a strong Labour movement. And what makes, to me, a mockery of it, there are meetings of the social partnership, and at the meeting of the social partnership and the subcommittee of social partnership, at the table is the Barbados Workers Union, C2SAB, and other unions. Now, C2SAB at no time opposes the presence of the Barbados Workers Union, and there are many meetings with stakeholders and stuff, like, for example, the IMF and all others. Labour, which is C2SAB, and the Barbados Workers Union sit together, and you know what? We share common ideas and positions. So therefore, there's no love lost, because together we stand as in unity and solidarity. And those words have to mean something to the Labour movement if we are serious about what we are promoting in the public domain. So the long and short answer to your question, if at all, the doors, put it another way, the doors of the Congress remain wide open to all those who have exited the door, and if one came today, C2SAB is welcoming them back home, because we believe that we want to remain a united body to represent the interests and the cause of workers.
You said that you're working within the interests of at least 9 member organizations. With the split of BWU and some of the other unions, how are you seeking to maintain these relationships currently?
Well, as I said, member organizations under the Constitution, there are entitlements, privileges, whatever. And we try to ensure that we provide education, training. We try to satisfy the needs of the membership. We try to engage, consult. We have all types of interactions that are required. We assist in what areas of needs, whether it be by research or by through the means of going and doing facilitations or whatever. Whatever that we can do to ensure that members are comfortable with the organization. As you know, we do the wage and salary negotiations, and therefore we collectively speak on that platform. At the social partnership, we get the views of our members' concerns, we take those views and we articulate them, and then we are going to look at legal frameworks. We do get the bodies informed so that we can see how any legislation will impact on any given member and find ways to present our case and ensure that we protect our individual interests as well as the collective interests of the member units. So the Congress tries to find ways. We encourage our member units to tell us what you want, give us ideas, work with us in what form we are, rather than be talking down to them. No, that is not. We try to encourage everybody to be involved in the process, and everybody has an equal right and an equal stake in what happens.
Regarding your engagement with a number of these member organizations, what are some of the biggest concerns right now in the interest of member trade unions?
Well, to be frank with you, the biggest concern remains the lower density of membership. We know that a lot has happened in recent times. The changes to even the legislation and working conditions. You have contract employment coming up. Young people, for some reason, don't seem to have an interest in the labor movement. So generally speaking, our biggest problem is how do we get an uptake on membership? And then secondly, you ask yourself, how do you get the governments, and I'm saying governments, past and present, to take the Congress seriously? We get the impression that civil service is sometimes treated with convenience. Civil service is the National Trade Union Center. And the Congress, the public of Barbados knows this. We've been free over time, not yesterday, but over the last couple of years, trying to get a sense if the government understands that what a national trade union center is and how it's supposed to be treated. Take, for example, the problem that we have had to face, that this Congress, when it comes to the annual Labour Conference in Geneva, is consistently being denied the opportunity to attend that conference by the government, who is the one who chooses the delegation, with making the claim that civil service is not the most representative labor body on the island. Now, a Congress, for persons who are not aware, is made up of trade unions and staff associations. This is what the ILO has put out there, and it supports national trade union centers. A union obviously is a unit. Some of them have divisions, but a union cannot supersede a national trade union center. But CIDUSAB has found itself where the government does not treat it in the appropriate way that one would expect. And herein lies the problem. And it goes further than that. CIDUSAB had joined the Caribbean Congress of Labour. And it's almost a decade now. And having joined the Caribbean Congress of Labour, which also speaks to national centres, when it joined the Caribbean Congress of Labour and was invited to its very first meeting in Antigua, it was kicked out unceremoniously. And you know how it was kicked out? By delegations from Barbados. The Barbados Workers Union and the National Union of Public Workers led a challenge, a serious challenge, to Sidhu Sal be a member of the Caribbean Congress of Labour. And it was unceremoniously, membership was revoked.
We've come to the end of the first half of this 101 program with our very special guest, Mr. Dennis de Peiza, General Secretary of CITUSAB, the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados. We'll be right back.
Hello everybody, my name is Rodney Innes. I'm Inspector of Police. I am the Communications and Public Affairs Officer for the Barbados Police Service, and I'm performing two roles. I'm also the Traffic Management Officer for the Barbados Police Service and had responsibility in coordinating the traffic management plan for Cricket World Cup 2024 right here in Barbados. It's a lot of work. I know we can do it together. I'm very excited about the World Cup being here, and I want to encourage all you drivers, whether you are coming as a spectator, whether you have business to do at Kensington Oval, or if you're just even passing by. I want us to do this together. I want us to listen out to the PSA's announcements. I want you to understand that if you're coming, you should take the park and ride buses and shuttles. I want you to play your part. I want to reassure you that we're going to have a safe Cricket World Cup 2024 in the region of the West Indies, and particularly here in Barbados. I am rooting for the West Indies, and I'm hoping that after all the hard work that we in the Barbados Police Service and the Barbados Defence Force and all the security personnel have done, that we end up with a big smile on our face celebrating West Indies' victory.
Hi, I'm Carl Padmore, Public Relations Officer of the Sanitation Service Authority. Before that, I was a teacher at the Alexandra School. What has fascinated me about Speightstown is the architecture, the friendliness of the people, the rich history. But what disturbs me is when I see people dumping illegally. Listen, we want to encourage you to make use of bins provided. A clean country starts with me. A clean country starts with you.
Barbadians, we invite you to get involved and play your part as we clean and green Barbados. Come into your community with media launches, bulk waste collection exercises, community engagement sessions, and giveaways. Get on board. Let's keep Barbados clean and green.
Beautiful, beautiful Barbados.
Hi, I'm Wilfred Abrams, the Minister of Home Affairs. With respect to the World Cup, I'm responsible for a number of departments that are involved in the World Cup. That's fire, immigration, DEM, rapid response, all those sort of things. It is amazing how we managed to pull everybody together to work for World Cup. A lot of people don't actually understand that this is a whole of Barbados effort. It is not just the persons involved with Kensington, it's not just the persons involved with cricket. It is security, it is marketing, it is information, it is transport, it is police, it is fire, it is the hospital, it is almost every single ministry and every department in Barbados in some way plays some role in World Cup. Having said all of that, I fancy myself a bit of a cricketer. You may not have heard of me, but if you hear me tell it, I just missed the West Indies team. But you can plan to come and watch them if they make it to the finals. But for all who are participating, right, it's a major achievement, and I am glad we're here at this stage. Kensington Oval looks amazing. It looks amazing. The stands are impressive. The grass is green. The lights are the brightest I've ever seen. We can see where everything went. It was truly well worth the effort. I can't wait to see the cricket under the lights and let the whole world see what we in Barbados are capable of.
We're back for this very special edition of One-on-One with General Secretary of CITUSAB, Mr. Dennis de Peiza. Mr. de Peiza, what are some of the hardest lessons that you've learned as General Secretary of CITUSAB?
You've put me in a real position to choose, but there are many lessons that one has learned. And the hardest one you can learn in any situation is how best not to lose confidence in people and systems. I referred earlier to what took place in Antigua when the Congress was unceremoniously thrown out of the Caribbean Congress of Labour, having been previously accepted here in Barbados in a meeting in which we were invited and provided all the credentials and was embraced and applauded as a new member, and having paid your dues to see what the regional body did. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around the justification of the actions. That was really hard because you're talking about regionalism. And when we go back and we look at the Federation, for example, you don't understand why that did not work. You know, the one from then, that storyline that we had, and now we saw where the behavior of the region to another national trade union center, you ask yourself, how serious are we? And that lesson has stood with me. And then on top of that is in your internal, because we have over the years that we've been together as a coalition in the Congress, continue to push the agenda of, I said, solidarity and unification. We continue to speak, and the Congress motto is, simply as we say, all about speaking with one voice. And it leads us in that direction. And you wonder why it is that when we all believe in something, and that thing is the representation of our people, seeking to ensure that labor's interest is addressed and protected, why is it that we find it convenient to move away from the core and follow other interests? So you ask yourself the question, why are we here? Are individuals here to promote their individual interests? Is it about self-interest? Is it about me, what I can get out of it? Or are you truly committed to the cause? Now, this Congress has had a strong commitment from most. As I said earlier, in any situation, you have times when there will be deviations. But what I'm hurt about, really, is that when you are sitting feeling that all is well, then you suddenly wake up to the reality that there are those who have hidden agendas. And that cannot speak well when you are in a unit and persons find reasons based on, in my view, selfishness. I remember one evening in a particular situation which developed where the chairman was abused by a member. And because that member organization could not, as one said, could get its own way, for lack of other words, that member organization decided, I'm done with that. But that member organization could not say to anybody that the Congress never supported it to the hill, got everything it asked for. But when people want to, for whatever reasons, create a problem or fracas to satisfy their own whims and fancies, these things happen. So I'm sometimes taken back, I said, as to why some of us really attempt to give an impression rather than being truthful and honest and committed to what they really should be. And that is the thing that we speak about, the unification, the solidarity, and the representation of our membership.
Despite these obstacles, Mr. Peiza, I'm sure you've had some very proud moments over the years. How would you say being involved in this particular movement since 2002 has transformed your life for the better?
If you're talking about from a personal basis, as I said at the very beginning, one has to understand that there's something called development that comes with being associated or being part of an organization like this. And with that, assuming leadership in any or a leadership role means that you have to be equipped with a number of skills, the knowledge, the expertise. Those things are important for you to be able to be effective in the particular role. And I believe that I have benefited tremendously. When I first joined the Barbados Student Teachers when it was actually formed under John Combach, I recall the countless nights and days spent not even going home at the BUT because John Combach understood that the cadre of young people who he held in his arms at the time, that he had to find a way to educate, uplift them, made sure that they were prepared for the task at hand. And I recall when we had the Outlook magazine, and we all of us did every aspect from photography. We went to the nation and obviously trained in how to not only to write up, pace up, all the skills that were there. I'm just going to show you. So it gave you a sense of, look, this is not only about just coming and talking. There are things that you have to know and be able to deliver on. So that was one part of it. But moving through the ranks of it, during my studies over time, I was able to go to Jamaica to University, George Meany University, for example, George Meany Little College, and University of Baltimore, and studying the business of industrial relations, and by extension, some human resource management. Now, these are important to what you're doing here, and being involved in public administration, you have to have unhorned skills. So I'm saying to you that if you are to be an effective individual in a role like this, your preparation and your constant building of your capacity, because it doesn't start today and end. You have to be on top of your game. So your research, you're constantly being on top of things in relation to how you are able to address particular matters. You have to know your negotiation skills down pat and stuff. These are important. So I believe that I have benefited tremendously from that. And they given the opportunity to be able to relate to different organizations across the region and around the world and interface and to discuss some very serious international topics, not only of a national nature or parochial nature, but you go at the highest level. It then says to you that you know what you are there at the cutting edge where you can sit and be a part of the governance of a country, because the social partnership does give us that opportunity. And I'm saying to you that with the abilities and the acumen that comes with all that, you are able to say to yourself, look, I believe that I have been given the tools to be able to deliver the job effectively.
What is your faith like in terms of the continuation of CITUSAB and the longevity of it and passing over the mantle to the youth in Barbados?
I'm an optimist. The labor movement, when it was formed, no one ever said that it would die. It has gone through immense challenges, not only here, from the Reformation in England, and it has gone through the years. it will not die. It will have its ups and downs. We have to find a way of creating succession planning. This idea of any one man, and you might say to me, oh, you were there 22 years, is never a moment that I did not say that I want to go, but we have had problems in getting people to come to the table and offer themselves. But we have got to seriously address succession planning. We've got to market and promote the union movement. We've got to sell it and call it, we put it in normal parlance. We have to do what is required to make it attractive to persons. But the movement has to reform itself. It cannot function in the traditional way and expect to be an agent of change. It has to change within itself. And as I said, those of us in the movement who believe that we own it, I think that we have to stop thinking that way. We don't own it. We are only players for a time. But we should always be willing to share, pass on the information, and most importantly, send the signals that you're ready to move on. Because some of us believe that we're here for life, and I do not state that. Personally, I will fill the void until we can find someone, but that until is not until the 12th of never. I've already signaled we need to get people on board, but you can't throw people in at the deep end. There must be a blend of the old and the young, so that we train people, so that when they fully take over the job or the role, that they are equipped with what skills and other tools that are necessary to do the job. But if you bring people in and figure this, toss them in, what are you going to have? A period of what? Continual drought, if you want to put it that way, where the business may appear to be crumbling before the very eyes. And that could be a big demotivating factor.
Is it then a serious focus of CITUSAB to involve the youth immediately in terms of this succession planning that you speak of?
And CITUSAB has been through that lifeline for years. We set up a youth arm where we were trying to train young people. A number of people came up with that. Some of them even went on to head unions. We had Sean Spencer, who went on to BUT as president. We have the Don Grosvenor, who went to BSU as the general secretary. We have Dwight Miller, who was the president of the Sugar Industry and Staff Association, who's also the assistant general secretary, treasurer. These are my examples. But we're not getting the rotation, so to speak, of more young people coming before. If you remember 2 years ago, CITUSAB had the major youth rally. Well, our major thing was the youth rally. And we want to see those young people who were so vibrant and dynamic take up the mantle. But they're coming forward, but like driplets. They're coming, but you're not seeing them. And the continuity is what's happening. So we're going to find ways to encourage them into the fold. And clearly, everybody might want to come into the organization and want to come at the top. But we know that is not the best thing to happen. Because if you don't have what it takes to do the job, you're going to get, I say, be demotivated. But they must understand that they're building blocks. And as long as those blocks you're prepared to make the commitment, certainly I believe that will see you through the ranks over a period of time.
You say that training is very important to the productivity and the work of the trade union movement. Are there any suggestions that you would have for some of the individual unions in terms of the effectiveness of how they go forward as well?
The first thing, I think that all unions have to have their own training programs. They have their own outreach programs, and to be able to find out what are the interests and the specific needs of their membership. Because I can sit here and say to you, oh, you should do A, B, or C, but that might not necessarily be what the members want or what the executive, in terms of its program and packaging, is really that's not the direction that they're going. But they have to be constantly remind themselves that the executive of any organization will change. It will not remain the same. So they too have got to stop, I would say in some cases, infighting, exclusion, because sometimes these things happen. People want to say these things, but a lot of this happen. You ostracize some people because who you think that person is or whatever. We must try to include people and give people a fair chance. As long as we show respect, it's very, very critical. Accept people, and of course, at all times, be there to encourage them. Then those things should make a difference in terms of the type of response that we tend to have in our individual organizations.
And what are some of the changes that you're hoping to make to include the digital aspect of things where SEDUSAB is concerned, and really capitalizing on including the young people within the digital space?
As I said to you earlier, part of what we understand is the movement has to start to think differently. How do we outreach? How do we capture their attention and so forth? SEDUSAB has already embarked on having a population officer with certain responsibilities, and part of that is to try to ensure that we use the social media platform extensively in trying to communicate, get information out there, non-traditional media, but that is where life is going, and we need to outreach them through the medium. But on top of that, we've got to to look at other avenues, because social media might have its place, but we must have to find the face-to-face medium, which is a beautiful medium, cannot replace it. We have to get out there in the walls of the various institutions, departments, schools, whatever, and effectively deliver programs that will give people information and to get people to give a level of understanding of what the movement is. So although you are focusing on the social media as part of it, it's going to be a big part, but we have to look at all ways that are possible that we can try to get people to get a feel for what the labor movement is offering and why they should be a part of it.
And what's your vision like for SEDUSAB currently for the next year, the next 5 years? What do you hope to see in terms of reformulation of the organization?
I always believe that the National Center is the most powerful medium in terms of trying to ensure that we all are singing from the same page. What I'm trying to suggest to you, all of our member organizations have their own autonomy. They have their own mandates. But what we must be able to get everybody to realize that we will go nowhere fast if we do not have togetherness. We must put aside what I would call differences, because differences will come and differences will go. But we have to be true to ourselves. If we want the organization to maintain its strength, character, and to advance, then we all must commit to doing what it takes to keep it going and to help it to maintain its focus. If we are torn at the core, then we are the only persons to blame for the retardation of the organization. But I don't want to say demise, because I don't think it will go anywhere, but it will slow the pace of its development and growth, and for it to exercise and to deliver on what its mandate is as entrusted by the same member organizations who have bonded themselves together for the good of all. And that's the motto of the Congress, for the good of all. And if you're working for the good of all, then we must show that commitment to that particular cause.
You've mentioned some of your challenges, Mr. Peiza, over the years, but clearly what are some of your proudest moments since taking up this post?
Well, the greatest thing I can reflect on, and I never thought in my being a trade unionist, I never really gave it a consideration, that I would have been given the opportunity to be selected as the workers' delegate to the annual Labour Conference of the ILO in Geneva, and to be able to speak on the behalf of the workers of Barbados and addressing the ILC. I think there could be no prouder moment than to be able to address the world and at that level. And I thought that, to me, was a glowing tribute to my hard work and dedication to the movement over the time I've been involved.
Would you also say that you're operating within your purpose where your life is concerned?
Well, from my school days, they always said to me that you are a leader, that was the sort of a champion title that was given to me. And I always have been involved in organizations. I've been heavily involved in sports and sports management, doing things at the national level. And as I said, the union movement has been part of my heart. The credit union has been part of my heart. So I've been always in these institutions that are mass-based and are doing things at the national level and beyond. And I believe that in your life, sometimes you might want to do one thing, but the opportunity comes and sets the tone for what happens. And I'll say this to you, in all those things that I have been involved in, I have never been the one pushing myself and saying, I want to be this, I want to be that. People have determined you are going to be this, you're going to be that. And it happened in the trade union movement from the very beginning. And I always remember at the Barbados Union of Teachers when it started, I never planned to be anything but a shop steward. But I was told, no, you're going to sit on the executive. And for a few years, I was like listening and learning. Because I remember late Carol Springer, who died, said to me, you are president material. I never envisioned thinking about President Beauty. Why I ended up being the publishing officer, the general secretary, and the president. I mean, so people see in you what you don't see in yourself. And that followed me into the Congress, followed me in sports administration, and as I say, the rest is history.
What keeps you going as a leader, as an inspiration for many persons, as a motivational factor for young people? What keeps you going? What keeps you inspired?
First and foremost, I have a love and a passion for young people. And that has always been, that's my life as a teacher. Youth and youth development, everybody would know in sports, I've gone that way. But I have this passion of service. And I would forego many other opportunities to commit to country and to service of institutions in Barbados. Because I believe that anytime a person can give and give unstintedly to their country, those persons should be treated fairly and respected for their contributions. That don't always happen in this country. We're not always as fair as we would want to be. And I'm not blowing a trumpet for any recognition or anything. But I'm saying that my passion came out of what people felt that I had something to offer, and they reposed confidence in me. And not only confidence, support. Because all through the organization I've gone, people have supported me to the hill because of their belief that I consistently deliver and without fear or favor.
Powerful. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Peiza. We've come to the end of another episode of One on One. From my producer and I'm Michelle Robinson.